Last month, the Houston Rockets made a blockbuster move and hired Ime Udoka as their new head coach for the next 4 years. Udoka was one of the most popular and coveted free agent coaches that many teams with vacancies at the head coaching position were looking to hire. And the Houston Rockets, who have won over 60 games over the past 3 years, now have one of the best head coaches available. Ime Udoka is arguably the perfect coach that can tap into the immense young talent the Rockets have and develop them into a powerhouse in the Western Conference in the near future. His motion offense brings out the most out of all his players on the floor, and his elite defensive schemes are some of the best we've ever seen since we last saw him in Boston when the Celtics made it to the 2022 NBA Finals in just his rookie head coaching season. Ime's great basketball mind from his playing days into his coaching career will do wonders for the Houston Rockets, and it's why I'm super excited for what's possibly in store for Rockets basketball and what will be newly implemented on both ends of the floor. Let's get right into it. Ime Udoka's offense is predicated on motion and constant movement to create mismatches and open looks for the entire team. Now, it may look like, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were the two best players in Boston that last season, and they were, but a lot of their offensive opportunities were created for them off of cuts and coming off of screens than having them to always find an isolation and find their own buckets. But the offense that Udoka implemented in that season allowed those two players to become much more off ball and not have to carry so much of a load on the offensive end for this team. In Udoka's offense, all 5 players initiated sets, meaning every player had to be well versed in screening, rolling, and making the extra pass. They were second in hockey assists that season, meaning the pass before the assist, they were always one step ahead and moving the ball around on the floor. They struggled to begin that season due to how implementing the offense was and getting into a rhythm in COVID. At the beginning of the new year to the end of the season, the Celtics had the 3rd best record with a 34-12 record and had the 2nd offensive rating in the NBA and the 9th offensive rating for the entire year, while being the 3rd best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. They were the best spot-up shooting team in the NBA, and a lot of that was due to the actions that Udoka ran on the offensive end. A lot of times the pick and rolls led for the pick and roll ball handler to score the basket or throw the lobs to the big man coming off on the roll. But a lot of times in the Celtics offense, a lot of actions like a pick and roll, dribble handoffs, pick and rolls to the roll man, multiple actions were on the court on the weak side or strong side, meaning that the defense had to respect the fact that the offense might put pressure on them, but they have to respect the shooters out on the court, and the Celtics made them pay. Something the Rockets did not do this year. Unlike the Celtics, the Houston Rockets offense this season lacked a lot of movement, and due to that lack of movement, the pick and roll was stagnant while not having consistent 3-point shooting in the team. The Houston Rockets were 4th in pick and roll possessions this season, yet they were 27th in points per possession in the pick and roll. The lack of movement and the lack of consistent 3-point shooting did not favor this offense. And not to mention they led the league in turnovers and were dead last in assists. What Udoka's offense will add into Houston right now will be allow them to have constant motion where the ball can continuously move around on the court and create different opportunities and better opportunities for the best scoring options like Jalen Green. Jalen Green has shown to be a great player when he's able to play in space, and I think that when he's able to attack the basket, he's able to draw that foul and sometimes even finish over the defender. The same can be said with KPJ, who I think is one of the best 3-point shooting catch and shoot players in the NBA and a knockdown 3-point specialist. The Rockets aren't going to be standing 5 out and watching one person run a pick and roll, but instead will have different actions on the court, which they'll have to master just so they can unlock this offense that unlocked the Boston Celtics offense as well. But it does come down to making shots as well on the perimeter, which they'll have to do this season as well. I'm excited for what Alperen Sengun could look like in this upcoming season. We know how great Alperen Sengun is in the post and as a playmaker and of course as a passer. And if you have Jalen Green moving off the ball and have actions initiated by such a great playmaker in Alperen Sengun, who has the IQ and the vision to find players on cuts as we've seen, I think there's something that you can definitely tap into that will create different scoring avenues for the Rockets in this upcoming season. But we're 4th in points per possessions in post-ups, and we're 5th in scoring frequency. And if you look at that, you know how great of a player Alperen Sengun is in the post. And if you can get Alperen Sengun in the post while running actions on the weak side to get Jalen Green open, coming off a pin down for a 3, you still have to have the defense worry about Jalen Green or KPJ or Jabari Smith popping out from the mid-range, or Alperen Sengun on a 1v1 in the post. There's different exciting combinations the Rockets can implement in their offense that will make them look really, really good this year. Imagine Tari or KJ cutting down to the basket and you have Jalen Green popping outside to it for a 3. There's a lot of things that they can be doing this season, and I think Ime Udoka has shown from his previous stint in Boston that he has the capabilities and the offensive genius to implement all these different actions that bring out the best out of all his players on the court. But I think the biggest thing for Udoka's motion offense is consistent knockdown three-point shooting. And I think within his offense, they will have great shots that they'll be able to hit. They just have to knock them down. I would definitely expect the Rockets to sign some consistent knockdown shooters just to aid them in situations where they can open up their offense so they can continuously be a better shooting team than they were last year. But let's talk about the defense, where Ime Udoka is easily one of the best defensive minds in the game right now. I talked about how the Boston Celtics struggled earlier in the first half of the season, starting under 500, 18-21. They would flip the script at the new year, would finish with the best defensive rating in the NBA. They were 13th in turnovers, first in opponent field goal percentage, first in opponent three-point percentage, first in opponent assists, and top 5 in opponents' points in the paint and second chance points, while second in contested shots. The season before Udoka was there, they had the 13th defensive rating in the NBA, and the next season with Udoka there in his rookie season, they had the #1 defensive rating. Now I gotta be fair, part of this is due to the fact that Marcus Smart was a DPOY and All-NBA first team, and you had Robert Williams, who made All-NBA second team and was 7th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and Al Horford finished 9th in Defensive Player of the Year voting that year as well. But what made their defense so great was the ability to switch 1 through 5, which is a luxury in the NBA, but also predicates on a lot of defensive communication. The Celtics were so good as a switching defense, many actions they were able to blow up just due to the fact that you had Marcus Smart telling others to go here, telling others to switch onto different players. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are your offensive engines, still had to buy in on that side of the ball, and you could see that the entire team didn't take plays off, especially on the defensive side in the regular season and in the playoffs that led them to the NBA Finals. When I look at the Rockets' defensive side, they're not one of the greatest defensive teams in the league. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league, primarily due to roster construction and their youth. But when you look at the pieces on the team right now, there are some great foundations that can lead them to a solid defense in the near future. I look at the versatile wings in Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr. When you look at the Rockets' best defensive ratings this year, Tyrese Eason always pops up in those 5-man lineups. He's one of the best rookie defenders this season as well. The versatility of those two guys will be important for how good the defense could be for the Rockets in the near future. The one thing that will unlock the Rockets' defense is obviously a rim protecting big, which I think they will look at, especially in this upcoming draft and in the free agent pool that they'll have $60 million to spend in. Because at the end of the day, when you have a rim protecting big that's able to help you on the weak side and deter shots, it also helps your point of attack defense as well, allowing you to play much more aggressive, knowing you have a backline defense and help in that area as well. And this helped the Celtics defense in their season with Udoka. If I'm Kevin Porter Jr. and I'm either Josh Christopher or even Jalen Green, it's important that these guys buy in on the defensive end. This is what made their defense so special. I look at the fact that you have guys sometimes on the Rockets defense last year where a lot of defensive lapses will happen because a guy gets cut back door or miscommunications on defense. But I think that with the defense that the Celtics ran last year, it's going to be a little bit hard to implement a switching defense just due to the fact that they don't have the personnel to do so. But I think what Udoka will add in for this team is being much more attentive on the defensive side and adding in much more defensive communication, allowing these players to develop and understand where they're supposed to be and be much more aware of what the offense as a counter to the defensive set. Ime Udoka once said to Kawhi Leonard when he was coaching back in his days in San Antonio, he told him, "Why wait? What are you waiting for? The sky is the limit. The fact you're not all NBA, that should be a chip on your shoulder. You should play with that edge and want to prove people wrong." That type of mindset is what we want to see from these players, not just on the defensive end, but on the offensive end as well. And Udoka definitely cares about the defensive side of the ball. There'll still be some struggles on the defensive end, just like the Celtics saw in the first year with Ime Udoka, but the Rockets definitely have the foundations that are needed to build a competent defense for the future. And within this draft, where you have multiple great defensive pieces in Amen Thompson, Jarris Walker, there's so many players that you can add into this team through the draft, and not including free agency, that will help this team, like I said, on offense, also on defense, to fill in those gaps that can help this defense be much better than it was last year. But if the Rockets players are able to buy in and be much more attentive as a defensive communicating team, it won't be easy, but I do think within time, this team will see massive improvements on the defensive end in this upcoming year. If you're a Rockets fan, you should be super excited with how this offseason has gone, knowing that Ime Udoka is one of the best offensive minds and defensive minds in the NBA and will be the leader for this team for the next few years. With the draft coming up and the Rockets figuring out where they're going to pick, it's going to be even more intriguing seeing who they might add into their team that can help this team move build for the future as well. And even with free agency looming, Ime Udoka has a lot of different avenues to unlock the young talent on this roster. But you guys tell me what you guys think. What are your thoughts of Ime Udoka's offense and defensive schemes, and what do you want to see him implement for the Rockets this upcoming season? Which players do you think will improve the most and see the most success under Ime Udoka's tenure in Houston? If you enjoyed the video, definitely leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Turn that post notification bell on so you never miss a video. And until next time, stay on beat.